Hello, and welcome back to Reboot Your Business podcast. Sometimes I've got to remember what podcast I'm recording because I can say the wrong name at times. But luckily this week not. I'm re-recording this one. Something went wrong between recording, editing and uploading, and we're doing so it's coming out a day late. So anyway, for anybody new who's never listened before, I am Aileen. I am the owner of this podcast, also my other podcast, Reboot Your Thoughts podcast, which is primarily to do with mental health, everyday life, etc. And I have the Reboot Sanctuary, which is counselling, coaching, holistic therapies and all that jazz. How are we all? How's business? Who's in retail, hospitality, that kind of thing that we're picking up now for Christmas? We're planning the Christmas rush, or maybe the Christmas rush has started, because if you're anything like me, I've already started my Christmas shopping. I tend to start my Christmas shopping in September. I am Christmas retailers' golden ticket, if you want to call it that, because I'm one of the ones that if I see something, I'm like, oh, I've never seen that before. That looks quite funky. Think I'll order that and order it. And then it sits in the cart. So I'm one of the ones, I'm like, take my money. Christmas is coming up. Take my money. Might not need it. Take my money. I don't have any money. So if you're in retail, listen, I was going to say send me over all your ads and whatever else, but please don't. I don't want to go bankrupt before the end of 2025. My plan is to grow my bank account, not put it into a negative. Thank you kindly, sir. I'm also planning on buying a Christmas tree. I was planning on buying it last month. Never got round to it. Still not got round to it, but I will. I've got the Christmas tree in mind. I just need to find the perfect size, the perfect everything, because I want one that's nice and bushy. I know that sounds a bit X-rated. Is that just my brain? So I want one that's full. That's the word, not bushy. Full. A voluptuous tree. I'll have a voluptuous tree, a bit like a voluptuous me. But see the thought of having to put individual branches on instead of just pulling it and clicking it. Like my tree just now is one of the ones you click in the 3 parts, you put the bottom on, Bob's your uncle, Fanny's your aunt, and you pull out the branches and you have them sitting the way you want them. I'm a bit rushed for time to be putting individual branches on. That would take me a fortnight. Unless somebody, are you a Christmas tree decorator? You might be what I need this year. Let me move house first. Not found a house yet. Also, if you're a letting agent within the Glasgow or surrounding areas and you've got a 3-bedroom house with a driveway, preferably also a garage, hit me up, because I've been looking for a year and I keep getting pipped to the post at the very last minute. So yes, that's my requirements for Christmas. So any Santa Clauses out there that wants to find me the perfect tree, the perfect Christmas decorator and the perfect house, doesn't need to be the perfect house, but as long as it's livable and the right size and the everything and doesn't have any issues with it, to rent. I think that's all that's on my Christmas list this year. I keep saying to my son, what do you want for Christmas? Because he's going to be 19 and he's like, a new house. I'm trying. Anyway, that's kind of personal life, isn't it? We're not talking about business anymore. So anyway, anybody in retail, Christmas, not so much hospitality, but actually, yes, hospitality. I'll tell you that at the end. So if you are in hospitality, keep listening, because I've got a thing for potentially goods as well. Yes, I did talk about it on one of my social media pages, but I can't remember what one. And if you're in the letting business, as in letting houses, maybe even an office, because we do need one of them as well. But email me, rebootyourbusinesspodcast@gmail.com. That's the one. Anyway, so you're all organised, because I did work in retail for a long time. I had my own retail business, and I was mainly online, but then I would also do market stalls at the weekend, events, fairs, all the kind of things. So I know how busy it gets, and I was always the one that in September I started bringing out the Christmas stock, and all the other market traders hated me for it. But listen, if you don't have it in you to be getting prepared for Christmas and getting the Christmas sales early, that wasn't my fault. That you should have been more organised. And people do. Like I say, I'm one of them. My mum starts in January, straight after Christmas. She's in the Christmas sales, buying Christmas presents for the following year. I know people that start in July, June, August, whatever. People can start Christmas shopping at any time of the year. I just tend to start round about September, because that's what I've always done. So if you're in retail, you'll have all your Christmas stock in hopefully by now. It should be flying out the doors. If you're in hospitality, have you got all your menus and everything sorted? Have you got all your Christmas booking, your advertising and everything sorted out? I know some smaller hospitality businesses may struggle with this advertising kind of thing, and if you do, send me a message. We can see what we can do to help, because remember, I do offer business coaching in this podcast. Although it's once a month, it is to coincide with my business coaching as well. So there'll be some episodes where it might just be general business chat. There'll be other episodes that might be informative for you, and that can only be a good thing. But if anybody does want to come on as a guest and talk about business, talk about how you enjoy business, or the struggles in business, or how you get into business, even just talk about your business and what you do, give yourself a bit of promotion, a bit of advertising, email me and we'll get you on. We don't need to do it in person. We can do it over Zoom, and your episode can either be solely audio, or we can do audio and visual. You choose. And I'll be doing a mix of both. It'll just depend when I'm recording, where I'm recording, and how much time I've got to do the recording and the editing, because it takes a bit longer when it's visual and audio. What else have we got to say about that one? I think that's kind of, if you want to advertise or sponsor, sorry, not promote, if you want to advertise or sponsor the podcast, then again, email in, and we've got packages for every size of business, so don't worry about that. If you think it's going to be majorly expensive, not necessarily. It all depends on what you're looking for, the amount of advertising and whatever else, and it won't just be advertised on here, it'll be advertised on social media over all my businesses. So you can advertise on the podcast, on the Reboot Sanctuary, and also on my personal page as well, which I have TikTok, Instagram and Facebook for all, and I do have X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it these days, for the two podcasts and also the Reboot Sanctuary. I just don't have X for personal because X isn't my thing. One of the main topics I want to talk about on this episode is success, and what do you see success looking like? Is success for you about a multi-million-pound bank account? Is it having a business with X amount of staff? Is it just having a business? Is it how you come across? The house you've got, the car you've got, you're driving? And everybody's idea of success is going to be different. And there's no wrong answer, as long as the answer is solely your opinion. Now, when I worked on market stalls and things like that, I would tend to work with mainly the same people week in, week out. And some of them, their business was continuous. You had other ones who they basically changed their business to every other month or every month to whatever the, in inverted commas, end product was that's a period. Now, for context regarding my business, for anybody that doesn't know, I closed my retail business down because I was a printer and I made gifts and things like that. Everything was handmade by myself. But I have a lot of health problems, and one of which means that I can't really use my hands as much. I mean, I even struggle holding a pot. I can't blow dry my own hair because I can't hold the hairdryer or anything like that. So it would have been really silly for me to carry that on, make myself, I suppose, more crippled in a sense. So when I knew the business was potentially only going to have X amount of time left before I would have to stop, I retrained, became a counsellor initially. Then I gave it a good almost a year of having both businesses before I shut down the retail business. So just in case anybody's wondering why I've went from one business to another and they're completely different, that's the reason. But I've also had my own mental health struggles for over 30 years, and I didn't always come across the best mental health staff, and I wanted to change that for people. So yes, I'm in the private sector, but that's what works for me. It's better for me and my family, where I can choose my own hours. I also enjoy being in business. I love having my own business, so it's also a bonus. But anyway, back to the success thing. So I also had somebody who I was good friends with on the market, met her through the market, and her idea of success was just her business ticking over. And as long as it was ticking over, she didn't need hundreds or thousands or whatever in the bank. She just wanted the business to keep itself running without getting into a deficit. It also helped because she was a single parent, as am I, and she had a young family, so it meant she could be home for them. And again, she was an artisan crafter, so she made everything herself. I was the complete opposite from her. I wanted to continue to grow any business that I did have. I had visions. Every year I make a 12-month plan, and I try and do a kind of monthly, quarterly, whatever plan, and I try and stick to it as much as I can. Obviously, you can have bumps on the road where you might miss something out and you carry that on to the next year, or you might carry it on to the next quarter, but you try and achieve each of these plans as much as possible. I want to leave something for future generations. I want to have something where if my sons ever find themselves out of work, they could potentially come and work with me if they wanted to, or they could have something where they have employees when I'm not here anymore, and that could potentially keep going for them and give them something to rely on. I would love my business to be known as far and wide as possible. Not to say that it will, and I won't think that I'm not successful, sorry if it doesn't, but that's what I would hope. And I think when you are business minded and you want a brand or you want a successful business, you may want it to be just in your country, or you may want it to be in Europe or America or Australia, Africa, worldwide. And your answer to the question, what does success look like to you, is your answer, and that's the right answer for you. But it also means that there's room for you to change it as well, because as you go, you might hit that success target and think, do you know what, actually I could go further, I could grow higher, I could grow bigger, grander than what I've done. I've got more in the tank, and that's amazing, because that's you evolving with your business. And life is all about evolving, whether you're talking about your personal life or your business life. Life evolves all the time, and we can change opinions all the time. So why can't we change our opinion about success, or about where we want our business to be, or how we see our business growing or stabilising. And I would say, if I was completely honest, before, because I've been interested in business since I would say maybe my mid-teens, first started to look into getting into business when I was about 18, went to go and see the bank manager. You hear all about that in previous episodes. But if I was completely honest about my thoughts on business before I went into business, I probably thought that to be in business you had to be you had to have multiple chains of establishments. You had to have X amount of staff at each establishment. You had to have hundreds of thousands in the bank to get started up. All these different things that aren't true. There's businesses, yes, that you do need a lot of money to start up. There's also businesses that you can start up with almost nothing. A laptop, a mobile phone, and the get up and go, the knowledge, the whatever. It's all dependent on the business that you're starting and whether you're in the mindset to adapt and grow and go with the customer, go with the client, or are you very stuck in your ways and it's your way or no way? I know people who are very much, it's not my way or no way. And there's one particular business who I encountered. I actually know the people personally, but we'll not get into that. And they were very much customer focused, all about what the customer wants type business, but on their terms. So they potentially had to go into the customer's house to do work in the house or whatever else. Now, we all know majority of people will maybe work Monday to Friday. And sorry if you're hearing my phone go, I can't put it on silent today because I'm waiting for results of an MRI and I'm not sure how quick I'm going to get them, so I don't want to miss the call. But they were only willing to also work Monday to Friday 9 till 5. In this day and age, it's not always plausible to do that. It's not always as easy to do that, especially when you're a customer-based, in-person type business and you are doing what the customer requires. I'm not saying you have to be working 7 days a week, but you need to be open to working weekends, because most people will only have spare time at the weekend. Yeah, you do have customers who they work weekends and they may be free during the week, or they maybe don't work, but they have kids and all these different things. You've got to adapt to what the customer needs rather than, obviously there's exceptions. For example, my business, I do offer appointments 7 days a week, but most of my appointments can be done over Zoom, over the phone, these sort of things. We don't have to be in person. I can go to the person's work. I'm very mobile within and very flexible within my business. I'm available worldwide. I help or try to help people of all ages. So we have children, we have teens, pre-teens, adults, young adults, older adults, elderly adults, because let's not forget, things to do with mental health or business or working on yourself doesn't have an age, doesn't have a gender. And that's something else we need to think about as well. But remember that whatever good business looks like today, it doesn't have to look like in 12 months' time. You can change, you can adapt, you can do different things. You can one week say you're going to work the weekends, the next week say, well, I'm only doing Monday to Friday this week. Adapt, evolve. You could have, just because you're offering appointments or anything like that 7 days a week, that doesn't mean you have to work 7 days a week. If your diary is planned ahead, then you can plan what days off you're going to work. So say you work Saturday, Sunday one week. That week you could take Wednesday, Thursday, Monday, Tuesday, whatever off, or the following week, because you've worked Saturday, Sunday, you could take Monday off and then another day through the week, or another day later and that weekend. Evolve, go with what the customer needs, because you don't want to lose a customer because you're not willing to work a certain day. Obviously, if you've got other commitments, i.e. family, you don't have childminders, etc., then that's completely understandable that you can't work at weekends. But maybe you could have casual staff for as and when these issues pop up. Because one thing with a customer is, if you say no to a customer, they'll remember that. They'll always remember that you said no to them, that you, and in their eyes, you rejected them, you rejected their custom. And a lot of customers is word of mouth. If you do a good job for somebody or you give good service, they will tell their friends, their family, oh, I went to this restaurant, or I got this decorator in, or I went to this therapist and they were 4 stars, 5 stars, whatever they want to say. They were amazing, they were great. Or do you want them to say, do you know what, I went and contacted that therapist and they said they wouldn't work around my needs, or they said no to me and didn't give me any other option. And remember that tone of voice changes depending on what somebody's saying as well. If they're giving a positive review, they're going to have a positive tone of voice. If they're giving a negative review, they're going to have a negative voice. And that plays with the mind as well. So people remember these things in a different way, and they won't necessarily give you or your business a chance because they've already heard something negative and it's came in a negative tone of voice. So the brain listens out for these things. So always remember that there may be a way around helping the customer and helping your business without you actually having to be present. And again, if you are unsure how to go about anything like that and you're looking for advice or you're looking for any kind of coaching, message me, because we've always got appointments and we will be starting up group coaching sessions online again shortly. We do them so many times a year. Thinking about doing them continuously throughout the year, and setting up a new package for that. But again, that's something for next year, because I'm coming to the end of this year and I've got a few things that I want to put in place this year before I start it's that whole walk before you can run, isn't it? So that'll be something potentially for next year. And I do have a few things that are coming to do with business and helping businesses that may start round about February or March time. I don't have any dates in place yet, and that's where, when I said at the beginning of this episode, I may have something for hospitality businesses. That's something that we may be able to kind of partner up on, or I may be able to use your services for it. So if you do have any kind of hospitality business within, let's say, the UK at the minute, or the UK and Ireland, Northern Ireland or Ireland, because we could take it further afield, then let me know and let's see what we can do together. Grow businesses. And that's another thing about business. One business can help another business. We can all help each other, and it's all about, it may be that you're advertising for a business. You might just put up a poster for somebody, but you could get them so much more business. And if their business is coming from you, because you could even put a code at the bottom of it, that's related to certain businesses. And if businesses are coming from, then maybe you could take business to that person, or maybe you could give them a percentage. I don't know, there's different ways we can, again, that's something that we can talk about in another episode. How can businesses help each other? But going back to the success, a lot of your success in business is, the majority of your success in your business is going to come from the customer / client. Because if you don't have any custom, you don't have any business. If you don't have any money coming in, you don't have any business. And I'm not saying you won't have dips in the road. Every business is potentially going to have dips in the road where it's maybe a bit quieter. So for example, you sell Christmas trees or you do Christmas decor. That's a seasonal thing. How can you adapt your business to make that work 12 months a year rather than? So you could do Halloween decor, you could do summer decor, you could do Easter decor, and you potentially already do that, but there will be some people out there that haven't thought of that idea. When I had my retail business where I was doing gifts and printing and all that different thing, by the time I was wrapping up that business, it was very, very, very oversaturated. So I kind of I thought I would rather not have the health issues that I've got. I got out of it at the right time. There's another thing as well where, and I see it very much on social media, and I think I mentioned it slightly on another episode, where now I see it quite a lot on Facebook, maybe not so much on other platforms, but more so on Facebook. And that could be because I follow a lot more sort of business related pages on Facebook, I don't know. And a lot of people say, oh, I'm thinking about starting up a side hustle. What should I do? Or what's everybody doing to make extra money? Now, what one person does to make extra money doesn't mean it's going to be a success for you. I've seen I could be on a market with two different people and they're both selling the same or similar products. One is bringing in thousands that day. The other person is maybe lucky to bring in £100. It's about you. It's about your passion. What have you got a passion for? If you don't have a passion for your business and the business that you're in and what your product or your niche, if you don't know your product or your niche and you don't love it, it's not going to be a success. You need to have a passion for it. You need to have a niche for it. So I initially went into the printing thing because my son was getting into teenage years, early teenage years, but he was also in men's size clothing, because he's very tall, built like a rugby player, and at that time a lot of the men's t-shirts especially were not very age appropriate for him. When you were going to the high streets, yeah, you could maybe buy things online or you could buy them something plain that had no print on it, but is that fair? So I got very passionate about the fact that, that's not fair on teenage boys who don't want to be walking about with half naked women on their t-shirts or whatever it may have been at the time. So I started doing towards them, then it grew to smaller children, then it was adults, and it just slowly but surely grew to different products, which was great because I evolved with the business and what the customer wanted and what they needed. But if I didn't have that passion, would I have been as successful, or would the business have been going for as long? I don't know. But I will tell you one story about one day I was on a market. It was a market in Helensburgh, and an elderly lady came up to me. I can't remember what age she was, but I'm sure she was in her 80s, and she was freezing cold. She wanted a jumper, and I had hoodies. And I can't remember exactly the print. I do have a picture somewhere that I may post. She did give me permission to put it on social media. And the print on the hoodie was more aimed at the younger clientele, so like more teenage, early 20s. But she loved it. And she was like, my grandkids, my great grandkids, whatever, will love this. And she went away happy, and I just thought, you're gorgeous, I love you. You could just wrap it up. But you think you're making something for one person, and in actual fact, there's many other people, many other generations that actually like it. It was, she definitely put a smile on my face that day, and everybody on the market was talking about her that day after that. They all thought it was brilliant, and she was dancing away happy with her new hoodie, which was great. And I suppose she, in a sense, put me in mind of my grand, because my grand was very younger spirited than her years. So when you think about when you're sitting down at the end of the day or the end of the year, end of the month, when you're doing your paperwork or whatever, you're doing your tax return or you're sending everything off to the accountant or the bookkeeper's doing your books, and you see whatever you've got at the end of the month, end of the week, end of the year, and how much you're paying out to the tax man. Don't be disheartened if it's not exactly what you were hoping it to be. Make that your passion, your power to grow for the following year or the following month. Make it your oomph to give you that push to do whatever extra. Maybe you need to add something extra in. Maybe you need to change your pricing. Maybe it's you need to make a package up. For example, if you're working in hospitality and you don't offer a delivery service, there's a lot of people who can't get out for a meal, and they still want that beautiful meal. They still want that it all sort of plated up, I suppose, if you want to put it like that. And no, we're not expecting you to send it out to everybody on plates, but the way you package it up means that they can put it on the plate exactly how you would do it. And if you don't already offer that because you are a high spec or whatever restaurant, maybe think about it. Because what about the people that don't drive and you're out in the country and they can't afford a taxi? Or what about the people who are at home with the baby, the newborn baby, and they can't be bothered cooking? They're so tired, they can't be bothered, they don't have time to get up and get ready, they don't have the babysitter. What about the person that's working from 9 in the morning to 10 o'clock at night? They don't have enough time to make themselves food. These are your people. These people are they're begging, they're crying out for somebody to make food for them, and you could be it. Yeah, I do know that there's many restaurants, that was just an example, there's many restaurants out there that do a delivery service, but maybe just not the one that they're looking for. You could be a hairdresser, and now I know some hairdressers maybe don't do this anymore, but back in as my son would say, the olden days when I was younger, and when my mum and her generation were younger and all the generations before that, every hairdresser was closed a Sunday, Monday. Now yes, most are still closing a Sunday, but I do know some now open on a Monday, but it was the thing. It was this an inverted commas rule. Your hairdressers was closed Sunday, Monday. So if you maybe only work 2 or 3 days in your salon, could you maybe do 1 day mobile, bring yourself extra money in, grow your business? I used to work in a hairdresser's that was based in a hospital. Now we had a shop in the hospital. It wasn't that we were necessarily based to go round the wards, but we did go round the wards if they asked. And can I say that some of the wards that I went to were my most memorable. Sorry, I've got a sore throat. I've got man flu. Yes, I said man flu because apparently man flu is worse. So if men can't do anything when they've got man flu, then I want that as well. Some of the wards I went round were the most memorable experiences in my whole working career, and I'll give you one. In fact, I'll give you two. I think I may have spoken about them on another podcast, but I don't know. So one was a brain injury ward. Heartbreaking, but also let you appreciate what you do have. So there was one gentleman who I would go and do his hair on a semi-regular basis. He couldn't get out of his bed, he couldn't talk, he was paralysed, he was obviously brain injury, but he could smile, and he had the best smile, the most beautiful, loving smile ever. I would go and do his hair, and now I don't know if this part of the story is actually true, but this is what I was told, and I would like to think that it was true to an extent, but also it was quite sad if it is true. Lovely, but also sad. And the nurses used to say, do you know, he doesn't smile like that until you walk in to do his hair. And I thought, do you know, that's lovely, because I love doing his hair, and I would talk away to him, and yeah, he couldn't answer me back, but he could give me signs that he was listening, he could give me signs that he was enjoying the conversation or whatever else. And I was only 17 at the time, I've always been an empathetic person, but he has stayed with me forever, in a sense, because without sounding creepy, and I don't mean this to sound in the way that it might, but I absolutely adored that man. Didn't know him from Adam, didn't know his story, but I adored him, and he was probably one of my favourite clients ever. But then on the opposite end of the scale, I had a lady. Now, I still adore her, even though she tried to get me into trouble. She was on the dementia ward, and I'm sure it was my first time doing her hair. But obviously you'll know that if you go to hairdressers, we have back basins where you would lie back, we would wash your hair. Obviously, in a hospital ward, they don't have a back basin. They have a normal sink. So I had to put her head forward. Can you see where we're going with this conversation? To put her head forward to wash her hair, and she started shouting, "Nurse, nurse, help!" Sorry, I can't tell that story without laughing. "She's trying to kill me. She's trying to throw me down the stank. She's trying to drown me." And like I said, I was only 17 when I worked in this hairdressers, and the nurse came running in, and I'm like, I swear to God, I done nothing. I'm only trying to wash her hair. Like, I thought I was going to get in trouble. I felt like my mum was coming in to ground me. And the nurse started laughing. She went, "It's all right, don't worry. I know you never done it, and it's just the way she is." And she's like, "No, she's not. The girl's just trying to wash her hair so she can do whatever I was going to do. I can't remember." And she's like, No, she's trying to kill me. She's trying to drown me." And I'm like, I swear to God, I never ever wanted to go in that ward again. Now, I did go back on the ward many times after that, but she terrified me. And then there was another wee man who he was lying in his bed when we were leaving, and he's saying, excuse me, hen, come here a wee minute." So I looked at my boss, because she was with me that day. She wasn't normally, but this day she was. And she's like, "Go and see what he wants." So I went, and he said to me, "They're holding me hostage. Can you bring your car round to the window and help me escape?" And I looked at my boss. My boss is killing herself laughing. She's like, "Just say yes to him." And I'm like, "Yeah, okay, yeah." And then we left. And that was that. But yeah, listen, I've had some wild experiences at work. Some good and some not so good. But they stay with you forever, and I think if you can always remember good times and bad times, and like I said, do something you're passionate about. I think I take after my dad, where in my younger days I had many different jobs because I didn't really know what I wanted to do initially. Obviously, as I said at the beginning, I thought to have a business you had to have all this money in the bank. If I knew then, what I know now, then I would potentially had a business a long time ago. A long time before I did, should I say. I would have got into business long before I did. But then I wouldn't have all those memories. So just cherish every working day. And if you're not in business yet and you're looking to get into business, listen, there's plenty of time. Starting a business, there's no age limit. There's no minimum age. Who has seen the children? And I genuinely think some children are better in business than adults. I mean, I don't know if these children are necessarily paying tax, but who's seen the children who start off by selling things to their peers at school, whether it be treats at break time or whatever it may be, or they're selling things online, and they're becoming multi-millionaires? Maybe we should all be taking a leaf out of their business book. I genuinely think it's amazing, and I do think this money side of it, business side of it, should be more accessible at school to learn. I didn't do business. We didn't have any kind of really business studies at our school. I did accounts and finance, and when I was at school, anything to do with numbers, I loved. Anything to do with pressing buttons, and I don't think it was this. think it was one of my social media pages I was speaking about it. My dad used to always say, you're going to be in a job where you press buttons, because that's not, he did genuinely mean press buttons, he didn't mean annoy people. So he thought I was either going to work in a shop or work in an office, and he was potentially right, because I've done both. Listen, I have worked in cafes, I've worked in hairdressers, I have worked in offices, I worked in a taxi office, private car hire, whatever you want to call it, office. Where else have I worked? I worked in a mortgage place, but that was a very bad experience. I might tell you about that one day. What else have I done? Obviously, I've had my businesses, lots. And most of all, the most rewarding job I've ever done has been a mum. And yeah, that might sound cliche, but my boys are my everything. But my businesses are the next baby after my two boys. They're also my baby. And I protect them as much as I protect my children. Don't come for me. Don't come for my businesses. Don't come for my children. Don't come for anything. We can be friends. So, when it comes to you growing your business, how often do you look at where you want to go next? Like I said earlier on, I tend to do a 12-month plan. Do you do anything like that? Some people do a 5-year plan. Some people do a month-to-month plan. Some people don't plan at all. They just wing it. And whatever works for you, works for you. I just feel as if that works for me because it keeps me on track. But you know you, and you know how you work best. The same as we all have different ways of learning. I learn probably best as I go, as I do the job. Obviously with some of the things that I offer, I need to actually sit and listen or write things down or study or whatever else. But in general, I would say I learn on the job best. And I think most people would say that it's retaining the information as you're doing it, rather than, I do find that sometimes you can, when you're reading, studying, your brain can go elsewhere and start daydreaming. Or if somebody's speaking and we all know if they've got a certain tone of voice, then we kind of switch off. But if you're unsure about how to grow your business or how to get into business, how to establish your business, whatever it may be, and you are looking for some coaching, send a message. Whether you want to do individual or whether you want to do some sort of group sessions, then let me know and we can talk through the different options. Now, just to let everybody that is interested in this know that I offer a free initial phone consultation before I actually book you in, just to make sure we're all on the same page. I also offer wellness in business, which is to do with both helping your business but also helping yourself and potentially your employees with the mental health. And again, there's different packages for that one depending on the size of your business and what you're actually looking for. And when it's something, if you do have staff and you want me to come in and help the business and whatever else, we will do a free initial phone consultation, but we'll also do a free on-site consultation depending where your business is. It may be that you're too far away, you may be on the other side of the world, so it might be that we do a video call and you're walking around and just showing me how everybody works and what's going on. But again, we can talk about that as and when required. So if anybody would like to book in for anything, or you would like any information on any of my services, you can have a look on therebootsanctuary.com, or you can, there is a button on there for if you want to send me a message on WhatsApp, and then we'll just book you in for a call. I try and get back to you within 24 hours. If we're really busy, we'll get back to you quicker. If I'm on a break or whatever, I'll get back to you sooner. You can also email in to the podcast, Reboot Your Business podcast @gmail.com. Also, again, just to reiterate, if anybody would like to come on, or if you would like to advertise or sponsor the podcast, again, it's the same email. If you're interested in listening to the mental health podcast, it's Reboot Your Thoughts podcast. And both podcasts are available everywhere. But for now, I'm going to leave it at that because my throat is getting so dry. We will be back in a month's time. So first Monday of every month at 7 a.m. Obviously, this one's going out on the Tuesday. That's purely because I had to re-record due to some technical issues. I don't know what went on with that. But anyway, I'm not tech-minded. But for now, I am going to leave it at that. I hope you all have a fantastic month in your business and also in your personal life. Take care, because I think the weather is to be wild in the UK for the next wee while, because that's us getting into winter. But for now, I will leave you all to do whatever you are getting on with. Go plan your business, go make your millions, go do what you've got to do. And remember, if you're a letting agent, hit me up. We need your help. But I will speak to you all soon. Take care. Bye bye.